Late at night, Bert senses the presence of someone around him. He climbs out of bed and walks towards the living room. Brut's eyes widened at the sight of the living room. Look at the window. It is closed, yet the curtains are flying away to glory. How could this be possible? 100 thoughts were running through Bert's mind when he noticed the clock. There was something off with it. Although it was very late at night, the clock said 7 o'clock. Something was definitely wrong. He uses a stool to reach the clock and removes it from the wall. He looks at it properly and notices that it didn't even have a battery.
Impossible! How is it working without a battery? It's haunted!
Exclaims Bert and drops the spooky clock on the floor. He races back to his room and quickly calls the most famous ghost hunter of the city, Yash. At the moment, Yash was busy capturing ghosts in the graveyard. He wears a paranormal watch at all times which helps him track ghosts, mummies and Draculas. He also carries a tank with him. He captures ghosts and stores them in it. This dynamic gun extracts ghosts and traps them in the tank. As soon as he receives a call from Bert, he leaves for street number 84. Yash's special bike is designed to automatically find routes, even in the dark. Yash speeds up his bike and reaches Brut's house. Bert was so scared that he couldn't even get out of his comforter. He was sweating profusely when Yash the ghost hunter appeared in front of him.
Why fear when Yash is here? Tell me, Bert, where is this ghost hiding?
Bert escorts him to the living room where he witnessed the presence of the ghost. Yash scans the whole room and reaches to the conclusion that there was no ghost hidden. The spooky clock which Bert dropped to the floor was back on the wall and was telling the correct time. Yash checks the clock, it also had batteries now. Also, Yash's ghost tracking watch wasn't beeping. Hence he was sure that there was no ghost near them. Next, Yash decides to explore the whole house. He ascended to the second floor and suddenly, the red signal starts ringing in his watch.
Yes, this means that the ghost is somewhere near.
Yash saw 3 doors in front of him. Seeing the all 3 room, looking at the footprints in front of room B, they are uneven in size. Yash immediately understands in which room the ghost will be. Yash loads his gun and enters room B. It was pitch black inside. Just then, Yash's watch starts beeping loudly. This means that the ghost was definitely hiding in the room. Yash uses his paranormal watch to track the location of the ghost, which tells him that it was within his 10-meter radius.
No evil can escape from me. Start counting down your days.
Suddenly, Yash notices a switchboard right next to him. He turns the lights on. He immediately figures out the ghost's place of ambush. The ghost was hidden in this photo. Yash uses his gun to extract it from the frame and stores him in his tank. It was almost 3 a.m. when Yash starts to go back home after capturing the ghost. Along the way, he comes across a girl, standing alone.
What is this girl doing here so late at night?
Before Yash could talk to her, she walks towards the nearby forest and disappears. His paranormal watch starts blinking moderately.
This means the girl was a ghost.
Yash tries to locate the girl through his watch and walks into the dense forest. The watch presents him with 3 routes, A, B and C. But Yash is smart since childhood, he finds the right path immediately. Route B leads to the girl, somewhat like this. Yash follows the correct path and reaches the girl. But she was hiding behind a tree. Yash's keen eye falls on the extremely small extra shadow and he immediately understands that the ghost girl is hiding behind the tree A. Yash immediately pulls out his special gun to extract the ghost. Suddenly, another ghost flies in out of nowhere and snatches his gun.
If you want to live in peace, return my gun.
The ghost of the girl appears in front of Yash.
You have trapped my boyfriend in your tank. Leave him.
I will set your boyfriend free, but give me my gun back.
The girl ghost starts making weird high-pitched noises and the gun thief ghost comes in too. The 2 of them were friends of the ghost trapped inside of Yash's tank. They were here to orchestrate its liberation. Yash takes off the tank from his back and releases the ghost. In return, the girl ghost gives him his gun. As soon as he receives it back, he extracts the girlfriend and boyfriend ghosts and traps them in the tank. The 3rd ghost manages to escape. He starts chasing it right away. The ghost enters a building nearby. With help of the watch, Yash tracks the ghost and follows it into the building. He saw 4 people sleeping but immediately figures out which one of them was the ghost. Look at the 3rd man. He is facing the right side, but his feet are towards the left side. How could this be possible? Yash withdraws his gun and traps the ghost.
Don't worry, Since you three are friends, I'll keep you together.
Yash reaches home and locks them into a jar. After a long day of being the best ghost hunter in the city, he retires for the night. It was almost midnight when John was awakened by thirst. He gets out of bed and walks towards the kitchen. But there was no water in the refrigerator. To his surprise, there wasn't any water in the kitchen pots too. He went up to the roof to check the loft tank for water, but in vain.
I filled the loft to the brim yesterday. Where did it go?
Just then, he heard someone taking a bath nearby. He looks down to the road and exclaims,
This pit was barren yesterday. The rest of the road, there is not a single drop of water. This means that it didn't rain that night.
Also, John remembers that the ditch was completely dry. How else could it be filled with water overnight?
There's a ghost, a ghost.
John was petrified beyond words. He rushes down to his room, locks its door from inside, and hides behind a chair. He was covered in sweat from top to bottom. He somehow manages to crawl to the other side of the room and switch on the fan. But the fan is moving anti-clockwise. How could this be possible? A table fan always moves clockwise. Also notice the shadow behind the fan. Without wasting a second, John runs to his mobile and places a call to the city's best ghost hunter, Yash. At the moment, Yash was at home, experimenting on ghosts. He leaves for John's house immediately, and with his superbike Yash reaches to John in a few seconds. Yash enters the house and starts looking for John. He searches for him in every nook and corner of the house, but fails to find him. He then enters a dark room and switches on the light. When Yash turns his sharp eyes all around, he sees that the t-shirt hung on the knob of the cupboard. It is moving even though the fan is off, the windows are closed, and there is no sign of wind in the room. And Yash immediately understands that John is hiding inside the cupboard, and hence the door keeps moving. Yash opens it and finds John hidden behind the clothes.
Thank God it's you. I thought the ghost has managed to find me.
John escorts Yash to his room, but Yash's paranormal watch does not portray any sign of the ghost. This means it wasn't around. Next, Yash and John watch the CCTV footage from around the house. In one of the videos, they notice that John came out of the restroom and headed straight to the roof. Both of them go to the restroom to look for clues. Seeing the footprints there, Yash understands that there is a ghost there, because John was wearing house slippers the whole time. There is no way that these footprints could be his. This means they definitely belong to the ghost. Both of them then ascend to the roof. Yash scans the place and notices that the valve of the loft was closed.
The ghost must have closed it. This is why the water supply has been cut off.
John turns it back on, and as the supply is reinstated, they heard the noise of water overflowing.
I must have left the kitchen tap running. I'll be right back.
John heads to the kitchen and finds the tap running. He drinks a glass of water and turns it off. He then goes to the restroom, but as he enters inside, he is taken aback and starts crying for help. Yash races his way to the restroom and where the tap of water is turned off, but why still water dripping from it? This is definitely the ghost's doing. Suddenly, Yash's watch starts blinking and beeping. He immediately tracks the location of the ghost. The watch flashed that it was hiding 8 meters down. Yash was left very confused and baffled. He smelled something fishy. How could the ghost be even further down? Yash and John were already on the ground floor. John informs Yash that he also had a basement and they rush towards it immediately. It was pitch dark inside, but Yash's watch was signaling a red alert. This meant that they were looking in the correct place. They switch on the lights and Yash understands that ghost was hiding in the stool kept in the corner of the room. The piece of wood below it keeps moving up and down in the air. As soon as Yash pulls out his dynamic gun to extract the ghost, it throws the log on his face. The gun falls to the ground and without delaying a moment, the ghost manages to escape. Yash picks up his gun and starts chasing the ghost. He reaches the graveyard and uses his watch to track its location. The watch shows that the ghost was within a 50-meter radius.
This graveyard is stretched in 50 meters too. This means that the ghost is hiding here.
He begins checking all the graves and finds 3 of them suspicious. By looking at these 3 tombstones, Yash's eyes go to the second tombstone. The year of birth is 1850 and year of death is 2020. How could this be possible? How can a person live for a 170 years? It was definitely a fake grave. Yash pulls out his gun and traps the ghost instantly. He immediately goes back to John's place.
There's no need to worry anymore. I have successfully imprisoned the ghost. You can now sleep peacefully.
He then takes off from the place. He comes across 3 routes to go back home. The first one goes through a forest, but a vampire waits for people there every night to pin them down and gobble their blood. Even though the second route is the shortest, it is very, very dark. The third route goes through the river and the current of water is extremely high. So much so that Yash could even drown right now. He could easily choose the first route as Yash is a ghost hunter and isn't afraid of any evil. But he should choose the second route since it's the shortest and his amazing bike has the special ability to figure out the way even in the dark. He picks the second road and reaches home. He puts the ghost into a glass jar.
I have a tendency to feel hot. This is why I released John's house's water. Please put me in a cool place.
Yash puts him down in a cool air-conditioned room and hits the sack. To pursue her masters, Rachel has recently shifted to a new city. It was around 3 in the morning and after a tiring day of moving in, she was fast asleep. She was awakened by a series of weird and creepy noises. She walks towards the living room and notices a juice glass shattered on the floor. Suddenly she comes across something that scares her beyond limits. She cries for help. Then her attention goes to the footprints on the wall. Rachel saw these and knew that the house was haunted. She immediately calls Yash the ghost hunter to rescue her. Parallelly, Yash the ghost hunter was on his way to Rachel's new apartment. He was ready with his super bike, ghost trapping gun, and ghost detector watch. As soon as he touches down at the gate of Rachel's apartment, his watch starts beeping loudly.
This means the area is filled with ghosts.
There are 7 ghosts, somewhat like this. Yash manages to spot all of them and traps them in his tank. He then enters the building and finds Rachel hidden under the bed. She was sobbing and was badly hurt. She narrates the whole story to Yash and how she saw the footmarks on the wall. Yash and Rachel proceed to the living room only to find the wall completely empty. Not only were there no footprints on the wall, but the whole room was neat and tidy.
I am not lying. I genuinely saw a ghost.
I believe you, don't worry.
Even though there are no footprints on the wall, they can still be seen on the floor. Moreover, they seem to disappear just near the wall. This means there was definitely a ghost around. But since Yash's watch isn't blinking, it is not around at the moment. For Rachel's sake, he double-checks the room but fails to find any clue. Just as he began to step out of the room, his dynamic watch starts beeping. Rachel and Yash follow the route directed by the watch and stop in front of room number 13.
Rachel, do you know who lives here?
No one. In fact, I've been told that this room is considered to be wretched and has been locked and unoccupied since several years.
As Yash tries to enter the room, he is presented with a password. He needs to crack it in order to enter the room. There are 4 buttons in front of him. Sharp-witted Yash immediately recognizes this button. The third one is the odd one out. He presses on it and manages to unlock the door. He steps inside the room. It was dirty, dusty, and covered in cobwebs. Rachel was quivering with fear.
I don't think there's anything here. Let's look somewhere else. The ghost must have escaped.
No, it's hiding here itself.
Yash looked at the room carefully. Noticed the couch in the middle of the room. It is covered in grime on one side, but the other side is fully clean. It also appears to be a bit compressed. This means that the ghost is sitting here. Yash withdraws his gun and aims it at the couch. But before he could pull the trigger, a tornado of dust ensues in the room which decreases the visibility. The ghost takes advantage of the situation and kicks Yash, throwing him to a corner. Just then, Rachel can be heard, struggling and crying for help. Yash goes in her direction and pulls her out of the room. He notices there wasn't one, but 2 Rachels in front of him. His watch starts beeping loudly and he understands that one of them was the notorious ghost. He pulls out his gun and aims it at both of them. Suddenly, one of them yells,
Yash, I am the real Rachel. I called you here. No, she's lying. I am the Rachel who talked to you.
Yash looks at them. He notices that the first one is the real Rachel. When Yash met her, she was bruised and hurt. Hence he understands that the second one is the ghost, since she appeared unharmed. Just as Yash aims his gun to the second Rachel, she twists and turns and arrives in her original form. He extracts her using his gun and traps her in his tank. Yash solves the case successfully and hits the road to go back home. It was pouring heavily and as a result, his bike breaks down. He placed his bike at the side of the pavement and noticed an old abandoned mansion and decided to go inside. Upon entering, he realized that the house was haunted, because all these candles hovering in the air. This wouldn't be possible without the presence of a ghost. He takes his gun out and begins moving forward. Just then, a ghost enters, swirling in the air and knocks Yash to the ground. But he bounces back immediately and keeps his super gun ready in his hand. He also pulls out his watch to locate the ghost accurately, but to his disadvantage, the watch was low on battery. Now it was upon Yash to somehow figure out the location of the ghost. He scans the room properly and then he noticed that this pen is missing in the first image. This means that the ghost has transformed into a pen. Yash withdraws his gun and the pen transforms back into a ghost.
Have mercy on me. I never trouble anyone. Please spare me.
Since it was a noble ghost, Yash decides to leave him be. The rain had now stopped. Yash fixes his bike and reaches his secret prison. He stores all the ghosts in glass bottles and calls it a day. On a chilly winter night, Eric was heading back home. As he reached the gate of his apartment, he hears the sound of someone bawling. He turns his back to see, but there was no one around. Suddenly, he sees something that makes him petrified and he starts crying out for help.
Ghosts! Ghosts! Someone save me!
Look at the gate lamp. It isn't attached to the pole, it's floating in the air, yet it is somehow still shining bright. He immediately calls Yash the ghost hunter and informs him about the incident. Without wasting another second, Yash rushes towards Eric's location. On his way, two people stop him and ask for lifts. Yash should help neither. Look at the woman's feet, they are in opposite direction to her body. She's a witch. Look at the man's legs, he has a knife stabbed on his leg and he is bleeding. How is he acting so normal? This means that he is a zombie. Yash takes out his dynamic gun and captures both of them. He then leaves for Eric's house. Upon reaching there, he interrogates the watchman.
Sir, when I came here, Eric was shivering out of fear, as if something horrible had happened to him. He was constantly pointing at the gate, but I didn't notice anything unusual. Believe me, I am not lying. There is a ghost here.
Yash decides to go through the CCTV footage. But the video footage after Eric's arrival at the gate was missing. Yash then takes a close look at the gate lamp in the video, and then notices the lamp in real.
I know what's wrong. There is a ghost here.
Yash come to this conclusion because there is a mark on the lamp in the video footage, but it isn't visible on the lamp in reality. When Yash takes a look at the lamp from the other side, he was finally able to spot the mark. This means that someone had moved the lamp from its original position. The gate is quite tall and reaching it without a ladder is next to impossible. This means whoever did this wasn't human.
But why isn't my watch beeping?
Yash and Eric then go further inside the residential complex. Suddenly, Yash's ghost watch starts beeping. Yash moves forward in the direction of the source of the signal and ends up near the society's swimming pool. They find a girl swimming in the pool.
What are you doing in the pool late at night? Come out! There is a ghost around. It's not safe here. Let me help.
No, Eric, wait. Don't do that.
Yash stops Eric from helping the girl because he looked at the girl properly. She's swimming yet there is no movement in water. How can this be possible? This means that the girl is a ghost. Yash is a true genius and he definitely deserves a like. Subscribe to our channel for more such content. Yash pulls out his gun in an attempt to capture her. But the girl flies towards Yash and takes him away with her, only to drop him at a distance. He hits the ground and his dynamic gun tumbles and ends up cracking a bit.
This ghost is very powerful. I need to do something.
Eric rushes to help Yash, but Yash asks him to back off.
You are not Eric. Who are you?
He say that because he noticed Eric's clothes, he is wearing the same jacket, but rest of his clothes have changed. How could this be possible? Yash immediately understands that this isn't Eric, but the witch herself. He leaps to grab his gun and aims it towards the witch, but she had already managed to flee away. Just then, Eric comes running. Both of them again start looking for ghosts. Suddenly, Yash's dynamic watch starts blinking. They decide to move towards the direction of the signal. It was pointing towards the storeroom. They choose the correct route and reach the room, only to find it locked. To unlock it, they had to pick the odd one out. This candy pop is the odd one. It's the only thing that doesn't melt, unlike the other three options. They were able to unlock the door and step inside. There is a lot of worn-out furniture and 5 huge mirrors. but the location of the ghost was still unknown. Yash scans the whole room and takes a halt in front of the mirrors. As soon as he stands still and looks into them, he immediately understands that the ghost is inside one of these mirrors. Look at the reflection produced in mirror C. Yash's dynamic watch is missing in the reflection, even though he has it on. How can this be possible? This means that the witch is hiding behind this mirror. Yash withdraws his gun, points at it, and captures her. He then leaves for his secret prison. Yash owns a prison of ghosts, which is surrounded by clouds from all sides, to ensure that it remains concealed. The prison has huge gates at the entrance and Yash unlocks the door. As he proceeds to confine the ghost in one of his glass bottles, he finds that one of the bottles is lying broken on the floor. This means that the ghost, trapped in this bottle, has managed to set himself free.
This ghost cannot escape this prison. But where is he hiding?
Yash observed carefully. At this shelf, the ghost is hiding behind this bottle. Yash captures the ghost again and imprisons him in another bottle. And after a long tiring day, he goes to bed. Jason was on his way back home, when suddenly, his car broke down in the middle of the forest, late at night. There were a lot of weird noises around him. He gets out of the car to see what's wrong. As he opens the car's hood, he couldn't believe his eyes. There was blood all over. He stood there shocked, trying to bring himself back to senses, when suddenly a wolf appears from the woods and starts howling. Jason turns on his phone's flashlight and throws light on him. There stands a wolf, huge and tall. His eyes, as red as blood.
Oh my God, someone save me, it's a ghost.
Scared, Jason casts light upon the wolf. He notices that the wolf had no shadow. This means that it was a ghost. Jason was petrified and started running. He comes across an old house. There were lights on. He goes inside without a second thought. The interior seems scary.
Is there anyone around?
Who's that?
Responds an old woman, walking down the stairs with a candle.
Who are you, young man? What are you doing here so late at night?
I was heading back home when my car broke down. I encountered a ghost wolf on my way. I somehow managed to escape.
Oh, poor child, stay here for tonight. You can leave tomorrow morning.
The old woman then serves Jason dinner. While he was eating, he suddenly looks at the window. It's open. The wind is blowing, so much so that even the curtains are moving. Yet how is the candle's flame so still? He understands that the old woman has something to do with the ghosts. He takes out his phone under the table and quickly sends his location details to Yash, the ghost hunter. Yash was at his home when he received Jason's text. He immediately sets for the jungle on his bike. Upon reaching there, he encounters a wolf. The light is flashing directly on the wolf's eyes, but they are still not shining like an animal's eyes normally do. Yash immediately understands that the wolf is not an ordinary creature but a ghost. Yash's dynamic watch starts beeping. He takes out his gun and aims it at him. But the ghost wolf jumps up to the tree and throws a branch at him. Yash jumps off his bike to save himself and falls to the ground.
This ghost is very powerful. I need to do something.
He takes out a firebomb and attacks the ghost wolf. His body starts burning and he runs away. Yash moves forward through the route and finds the house Jason texted him from. Yash confirms his location and goes in.
Jason, where are you? I am here to rescue you.
The old woman comes down the stairs.
Who are you, son?
I am Yash the ghost hunter. I am looking for Jason.
He left the place a few minutes ago.
Yash immediately understands that the old woman is lying. Because Jason was terrified already, he wouldn't have stepped out of the house to become a bait to the ghost wolf.
But the woman is not a ghost. Then why is she lying?
But Yash's watch isn't beeping, so Yash comes to the conclusion that the old lady is not a ghost.
Who are you, old lady? What are you hiding?
I am a ghost savior. I protect these poor ghosts from people like you.
And I am Yash the ghost hunter. I won't spare you.
Yash takes out a firebomb and attacks the old woman. But she reads a spell and the firebomb disappears.
This lady knows witchcraft too. Interesting.
She then casts another spell and turns Yash into a mini creature and imprisons him into the same glass bottle Jason was trapped in.
Sir, I was the one who texted you. This old lady is very dangerous. She offered me some sort of devilish food. I ate it and somehow got smaller in size, and then she trapped me inside this bottle.
Don't worry, pal. I will get you out of this place.
Yash then releases strong red radiation from his paranormal watch, and the bottle breaks off. As soon as they set themselves free and turn back to their normal sizes, two ghosts attack them. Yash captures one of them through his gun. The other ghost gets scared and hides in a room. Yash follows him inside. Look closely, the bucket is filled with water, and the tap is still running. Yet the water isn't spilling on the floor. How can this be possible? This suggests that the ghost is hiding inside the bucket.
Tell me, you petty ghost, where is your savior hiding?
She is in the cave behind this house, casting spells and summoning ghosts to kill you.
Yash captures him with his gun. Yash and Jason then head towards the cave. The woman and the ghost wolf were performing an ablation.
Oh look, this is the ghost wolf I encountered in the jungle.
I know, this ghost wolf is very powerful. I must do something to interrupt this ablation, or else a lot of ghosts will gather here, and it would be difficult to deal with a bunch of them all at once.
Yash saw there is a beehive. Yash throws a stone at the hive, and the swarm attacks the old woman. Yash then captures the ghost wolf with his gun. Meanwhile, the ablation fails and the bees sting the old woman, turning her blue. Yash then saves the woman from the bees by throwing a firebomb at her.
What do I do with this old woman? I can't apprehend her as she is not a ghost. And for God's sake, I can't leave her alone either.
I suggest you should hand her over to Detective Mayhul.
I agree.
Yash calls Detective Mayhul and he arrives at the scene. Detective Mayhul then asks the police to imprison the old woman.
Let me drop you to your home, pal.
Yash and Jason then set off for the city. Yash drops Jason and heads back to Ghost World. Upon reaching there, Yash confines the ghosts in glass bottles and imprisons the ghost wolf in a cage and goes to bed.